gone on a really shitty, terrible date and then you're just like, why am I even dating? Or maybe you're like, you know what? Everybody kind of sucks out there. I just keep going on terrible date after terrible date. I'm not finding anyone. And you're just like, I'm going to tap out of the dating game entirely. Whew, take a deep breath before you are like, I'm giving up, Carla. Like, this is it. Welcome to Carla Turned On, where dating gets real, sex gets talked about, and the BS gets left on red. Let's get turned on. I want you just to take a moment, all right? Take a moment here, because I'm going to tell you a little familiar story about myself. I went on such a terrible date when I was returning back to the dating world. After ending an engagement, I had not been dating at all. Like I talked about before in the episodes, if you haven't checked out those episodes, definitely check us out. I hadn't been dating at all after I ended an engagement, okay? So I took all this time to myself. I focused on myself, did all the things, and then I was like, cool, I am ready to tap back into the dating world. Actually, specifically, we're going to get specific here. One of the things that I did was solo travel when I was in this space of just complete single, not dating anybody, nothing. And I went to India. I fucking loved India. Shout out to anybody here that is from India or is listening in India. Freaking loved it. It was amazing. Okay, I digress. So I was sitting in Goa and I was at a hotel just by myself. Goa is a beach for those of you who are like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like a beach town. I was sitting there and in my hotel, I just had a moment where I was like, I'm ready. I am ready to get back on the apps. I'm ready to date somebody. I'm ready to meet someone. I'm ready to do this. So when I get back to the US, I'm going to get on the dating apps. And I did. And one of the first people that I matched with, I was talking back and forth. We set up a date and it was horrendous. It was literally like you would think after going through a very traumatic breakup of finding out tons of red flags and infidelity and all these things that came crashing down at once. That was insane. To then being like, okay, I'm going to do this. I believe in myself. I know I'm worthy of finding a great partner and I know what I'm looking for and I'm dating intentionally. So I go on this date and mind you, I am all for therapy. I believe in people going to therapy. I have gone to therapy myself. At times I go here and there. I mean, it just depends, right? Where I'm at, what I'm going through. I also have clients who do therapy and coaching at the same time. And I always say that if you do coaching and therapy at the same time, or you've done therapy and then you're like, I'm going to do coaching, it's very helpful because it kind of helps you go back into your past, back into like childhood, that kind of thing. Okay. When we were on the date, he let me know that he had gone through, I don't remember the exact number. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, but he went through some god-awful, insane amount of therapists in 1 year. That's not normal. I understand trying to find a good therapist. So you're like, cool, well, not a fit, not a match, great, find somebody else. Okay, maybe they're not a fit, try somebody else. Oh, this is a fit, great. It was like a big number. I want to say maybe like 9 therapists in 1 year, okay? And I was like, okay, this is a little interesting. And then he proceeded to tell me all about how he assaulted somebody in high school, got arrested. I was like, holy effing shit. Then he continues to tell me that somebody he was talking to prior, he had called so drunk when he was blacked out in New York and all this stuff. And then she ended up breaking up with him. Oh my God, this is insane. So I call my girl Shelby after the date and I was like, oh my God, the date was terrible. This is what happened. And she's like, Carla, you're going to get back up on that horse and you're going to keep dating. This guy does not define your success in dating. As a dating coach, I know this, but I also know what it feels like to be a fucking human being going through your own ups and downs with dating, where I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. So I got back up on that horse. I continued going on dates. And then eventually I met my husband. And there's a lot in between, and we'll talk about that on more episodes of Turned On. But what I'm trying to say is, just because you have one bad date or a couple bad dates does not mean that you suck at dating, does not mean that you are screwed with dating, and does not mean that you'll never find somebody. All right? Do not let somebody else's actions dictate your success with dating. And talking about a little success today, we are going to be getting into my turned off rant, which is going to be all about how if you haven't been in a long-term relationship, are you the red flag? Diving right into what it means and what it looks like when you are dating somebody who is emotionally unavailable. And yes, we are going to be hitting up the spectrum of everything here. So you definitely want to hang out. And then last but not least, we are going to talk about it. We're going to be tacoing about compatibility in the bed when you are sleeping with somebody new that you are dating, or maybe you're a little bit into a newer relationship here. So we're going to be breaking down what that exactly looks like. But first, I'm turned off. I have had so many clients tell me before, Carla, I haven't been in a long-term relationship. I've dated people here and there, but like nothing's stuck. And here I am in my late 20s or my 30s. Am I the red flag? Back up just a moment. Society puts so much pressure on relationships. It's this whole hierarchy idea of, okay, you're in a relationship, boom, you're deemed successful in life, or you seem to have your shit together. No, that is not the case at all. I am going to break down why you are not the red flag if you haven't been in a long-term relationship. And anybody here who's like, well, I don't think that's true. I've totally bought into this idea that I went on a date with a guy and he just wasn't in many long-term relationships. So I was like, something's wrong with him. No, you can be. Okay, hear me out. You can be in very unhealthy relationships, not do any work on yourself of why you keep picking these types of partners, or maybe you're the unhealthy one, right? And not taking a step outside to say, okay, like what's going on with me? What do I need to work on so that I can be a healthy partner? And then you go into another relationship and just repeat the same patterns, right? Somebody could do that. And that doesn't mean that, oh, they're not a red flag. And I understand, sure, if somebody is the unhealthy one in relationships and going from relationship to relationship and bringing that, like, that is a red flag, right? I get that. But I also just want to point out that, hey, real quick, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want dating support, don't forget to look in the notes below where you can learn all about my guides and how to work with me. And if you want to follow me on my socials, you can find me anywhere at I am Carla Romo. Let's get turned on. Let's just take away this stigma around people who are single. Let's just do it, because you might be sick of or have experienced in the past around a lot of your couple friends giving you advice as a single, and you're just kind of like, wow, I feel even more alone and isolated, because they don't really get what it's like. Correct? They're not dating coaches. They're not relationship coaches. They're just giving you their advice. And some of your friends maybe never even had to go to the app world. Maybe they met people before apps, or it was easy for them. They met way back in the day in college, or they just met just walking a little cute meet in Trader Joe's, and then boom, they were like, oh my God, you also like pumpkin spice stuff. Let's date. So you get what I'm saying. But it turns me off so badly when people try to say that you are a red flag because you haven't been in a long-term relationship. There are so many reasons that somebody hasn't. Number one reason could be anything around the fact that they were in school for a while, they were really focused over their careers, and so they put so much energy and so much time into that all of a sudden they're like, I want to date. Like, I do want a relationship. So let me look into finding somebody. Number two, somebody really struggled with self-confidence. They didn't put themselves out there dating, but they did a lot of work on themselves. And they're like, you know what? I am worthy. I want to go out there and I want to date. And that is a green flag. The fact that somebody recognized, I've kind of isolated a little bit. I felt a little scared to get out there and to date someone. So I'm going to do some work on myself, become more confident, expand my friend group, my community, my hobbies, right? Really invest in self. Side note, these are ways to grow self-esteem. And then being able to be like, yeah, I'm ready to date, but I don't have many long-term relationships. And number three, I'm just going to be straight up with you. Dating is difficult. It's hard. And maybe you don't really have the skills or tools to navigate finding somebody. You've tried, or you've listened to this crazy content creator that told you play hard to get. So you're like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to play hard to get. You're feeling lost. You're feeling confused. You don't know what to do. And then you start to get in your head because then you hear people say, oh, you're a red flag if you haven't been into a long-term relationship. I also get too that some people feel really insecure. They're like, well, I was in a long-term relationship in college, but now here I am in my 30s or 40s, and I haven't really been in a long-term relationship since. Okay, at the end of the day, let's just take a breath. Okay, you guys get the point here. It is not a red flag. And as somebody who has coached over 1,000 clients, I can tell you right now that I have many clients who are green fucking flags and never been in a long term relationship. And there is nothing wrong with them who actually get into amazing relationships and partnerships. So I am just letting you know right here, any shame around being in a long term relationship or not or whatever, let's just let that shit go. Okay? Okay. Emotional unavailability. It's like one of those buzzwords, right? Like, oh, they're so emotionally unavailable. But what the hell does that even mean? And are we overusing the term emotionally unavailable? All right, let's back the F up for just a moment here. I will be completely transparent and honest with you because that's what we do on Turned On. I used to be emotionally unavailable for relationships when I was so deep in my codependency. And mind you, this was not something that I was conscious of, okay? So I wasn't out there saying, oh, I want to pick people who are emotionally unavailable because I am afraid of emotional intimacy. I don't know how to connect without feeling like I need to fix somebody or save somebody, right? I didn't understand what healthy connection was. So I would find these fixer-uppers or people that had problems that I thought, game on, let's go. It's the Carla challenge, and I am going to help fix them. No, this is like a recipe for absolute dysfunction and disaster, and I can tell you that because I had done that a couple times. Okay. Emotionally unavailable doesn't mean that it's like, oh my God, they are a narcissist. Run. They're going to be terrible. They're an abuser. Okay. I think we can all agree here that somebody who is narcissistic and not aware and doesn't work with a therapist and doesn't have the diagnosis, right? And you're just projecting your own diagnosis of narcissism onto them, probably is emotionally unavailable, or anybody who's an abuser is emotionally unavailable. Those are some pretty massive red flags of emotional unavailability. But what about the red flags of emotional unavailability that aren't so in your face and maybe aren't so buzzwordy, correct? And like myself, I had a lot of unresolved past relationship patterns. There was things that I was doing over and over and over again until I became conscious of it because I was just like, oh, hell no, there is something going on with me. I need to kind of look in the mirror and see, like, what is going on here? And if you're finding yourself in these relationships where people are emotionally unavailable, or you're dating somebody who is emotionally unavailable, and you find that that is a dating pattern of yours, it's like you always try to make it official and then they're like, oh, actually, I don't know really how I'm feeling with it. Or it gets to that 2 to 3 month, 4 month marker, and then it just kind of fizzles apart, right? And this is sort of like this pattern that you might be actually attracting emotionally unavailable people. But it does not mean necessarily there's anything wrong with you. We just got to kind of take a look at what is it within that makes us attract these types of partners. For me, it was the codependency. I had low self-worth, low self-esteem, and I needed to take a moment to just kind of take a step back and say, Carla, what is going on with you, right? And then I was able to fill up my own damn cup and realize, oh, I see. I need to feel whole. And then I can pick partners who are emotionally available and I can be open to receiving that. But there are also other reasons that come down to attachment styles. For example, avoidant attachment. If somebody is avoidant attachment, they might be really activated in their attachment style. So, side note, avoidant attachment basically means arm's length distance, right? I always like to use the example with my clients. They've got arm's length distance between you and them. And it's like all of a sudden when things start tipping into being emotionally intimate, we're not just talking physical, we're talking emotional intimacy. They all of a sudden turn away. They kind of have this 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I am not shitting on avoidance. A lot of people do. They're like, oh, they're terrible. They don't want to commit. There's something wrong with them. No, at the end of the day, people who are avoidantly attached just want to connect. Their default is to turn away from intimacy that's emotional. So you start to get into a relationship with them, and then maybe they're like, actually, let's just see how things go. Or you ask them on date number 2, curious what you're looking for since everybody is dating for different reasons. And they're like, well, let's just keep this casual for now. It's too much. As my client said the other day, I loved what she said. She was telling me that it almost felt like it gives her the ick to ask somebody what their dating intentions are because she tends to lean more avoidantly attached. However, if you are activated in your attachment style, you have no idea that you have avoidant attachment, or you are aware, but you're just not doing anything about it, then that would make somebody emotionally unavailable to be in a healthy, connected relationship. My client, on the other hand, when she talked about the ick, that actually describes somebody who is emotionally available. Yes, she might default to avoidant attachment, but she's not sitting in her avoidant attachment style. She's actually meeting into a secure style. So, secure attachment basically means that you are 2 feet in. You might feel a little pull to anxious attachment, but ultimately you feel 2 feet grounded. When you talk about what you're looking for with the person that you're on the date with, you feel good about it. If the person texts you the next day, you're like, cool, I figured they text, sounds good. If you text them and it takes a little while for them to text you back, you're not freaking out, you're not pushing them away, you're not playing games, you're not trying to wait a long time to text them back, you feel secure with moving forward with dating. It doesn't mean that you don't get nervous because let's be real, everybody gets nervous when it comes to dating. And if they don't, I'm really impressed because as a dating and relationship coach, I can tell you firsthand that I used to get nervous for first dates. I'm just a human being, right? At the end of the day, we are just humans. And it meant a lot to me and it was vulnerable. And vulnerability also plays into people who are emotionally unavailable. If you are not willing to be vulnerable, and the way that I look at vulnerability is through connection, you're willing to share a little bit about yourself and open up, not trauma dumping on your date, but sharing and opening up and getting to know each other and maybe sharing your feelings, like letting somebody know, hey, I had a really great date. I am really enjoying getting to know you. Or checking in maybe on date number 7 and you're like, hey, if we're going to sleep together, I just want to check in. Like, we're not sleeping with other people because I'm not okay with that. So, could we be exclusive? But maybe it's a little too early to define the relationship. So, I want to just kind of see how things go with exclusivity. Having conversations like that is so vulnerable. But when people are not emotionally available, they don't want to have those conversations. They might let somebody else lead those conversations. They might participate a little bit, but they're not willing to open up and truly share or express like where they're at. And that is why when you're dating, these people are emotionally unavailable because in order to connect, in order to be in a relationship, vulnerability is like at the forefront. That is how you learn to trust with somebody. That is how you build security in a relationship. That is how you build emotional safety in a relationship. But when you aren't able to be vulnerable, you have a wall up, you're closed off, you're not willing to share what's really going on the inside, whether you're ready to commit to a relationship or maybe you need a little bit more time. So the person who's emotionally unavailable sometimes gets pitted into whatever the person who is on the other end that they're dating, right, is talking to them about and having a conversation about. So they just kind of go along with it versus being actually open and a participant on the other side. It's so important here when you are dating to practice vulnerability. And no, vulnerability again, like I said before, is not trauma dumping. That is very, very different. You need to grow in stages with vulnerability. So don't just share all your secrets up front. That literally does not create trust. Instead, that actually puts you in a position that could be very dangerous for you because you're trusting this complete stranger with everything that you've got. But instead, vulnerability is about slowly opening up and having conversations around exclusivity, having conversations around enjoying seeing one another. That shit is healthy when it comes to dating. And another big thing that makes somebody emotionally unavailable when it comes to dating is still being in contact with their ex. And I'm not talking about just being friends. And side note, people who have avoidant attachment style tend to be friends with multiple exes. And that's not to say that there's anything sexual within it, right? It could be platonic friendships, but they sort of always are keeping a toe or a pinky into their past versus cutting ties moving forward. But anybody who is romantically involved with an ex while also trying to date is not emotionally available. You might be like, well, once I find somebody, I'm going to like peace out to my ex and I don't care about them. I mean, I'm just sleeping with them because it's good sex, right? No, what you want to make sure is that when you are dating, you are fully 2 feet in. So you're not in the past, you're not still sleeping with or seeing or talking to or using your ex as an emotional crutch that some people still do because it's quote unquote comfortable and easy. But at the end of the day, what you want to make sure of is that you have cut clean ties with people in your past, because then you're available for whatever is to come and you're still not emotionally pulled back. And I'm going to challenge you right now, anybody who's like, well, no, I mean, I know I could cut it off. You cannot compartmentalize your feelings. So at the end of the day, if you emotionally are still connected to your ex or the person that you've been hooking up with or your situationship, you are going to bring that into your dating life. And I know I just mentioned a little bit here and there, sleeping with, situationships. So let's get into tacoing about it. This is a very important question. It is Tuesday. The episode dropped, and it is Taco Tuesday. What tacos are you going to be eating today? I just need to know right now, what tacos are you going for? Because I'm going to be honest with you. I love a good carnitas. I love carnitas. It's one of my favorites. Al pastor, like those are so good too with the pineapple, but they have to be like actually authentic, on the spigot. The pork is on the spigot and they shave it down. And anybody out there who's a vegetarian and is like, Carla, you are grossing me out. There are also amazing veggie tacos out there. Okay. My husband is a vegetarian. All right. And he goes for those veggie tacos, and those also are freaking delicious. So I'm just throwing that out there. I know we're going to talk about compatibility when you're sleeping with somebody new, but I just had to get that taco, the actual food taco thing out there, if you know what I mean. Okay, so let's talk about compatibility in the bed. When you think about having sex with somebody, you might be like, all right, this person is new. I don't know how it's going to go, but we're just like going to get in bed and go for it. I don't know, right? Okay, let's back up here because, to be honest, that's kind of how most people operate when it comes to sex, but it does not need to be that way. And to be completely honest, if you want to really actually gauge compatibility in the bed with somebody that you're sleeping with, there's a couple things that we need to address, like, right, meow. I am a cat person. It is not just about chemistry. Communication. Communication is literally everything when it comes down to getting down with it. All right, hear me out right now, because I think communication can be nonverbal, so you don't even have to say anything with your vocal cords, right? You can communicate with your body language. You can communicate through making noises. That is very important, to be able to have communication beyond just the talking, but also being able to talk about it, right? That's why we talk about it. Okay, I cracked myself up. Okay, all right. This is why we talk about it, right? Okay, but I'm telling you right now that when you are looking at compatibility, it's how you guys communicate with each other. When you're in the bed, are you asking? Are you talking about what your pleasure points are, what you like, what you don't like? If you are doing things together sexually and you're getting intimate, and then the other person is like, I am not digging this, but they're just like, I'm just going to go along with it, you're going to be like afterwards, that was weird. I felt disconnected during sex, probably because the other person wasn't speaking up. And no, you should never feel pressured, ever. I do not care if the other person is upset or they're going to be upset or you feel a burden. No, you never should feel pressured ever sexually to do anything at all. Okay? I'm going to put that little stamp in here while we're talking about all of this. Your needs also, when it comes down to compatibility, do not actually have to be the same. So say that you're into a certain type of kink and the other person isn't, right? And maybe they're not even open to really trying it, but you guys talk about where can you find a happy medium. And it's okay to express that, hey, like, I'm not really into doing this, but I would be open to this. And seeing and exploring, like, can we talk about different ways that our needs can be met? Because compatibility isn't just we vibe, we have the same kinks, we like the same positions, whatever. All of those things are so personal. There is not a one size fits all. Literally. That's why condoms come in all different sizes, because there isn't a one size fits all when it comes to compatibility. When it comes to having sex with somebody, we're all so different, and there's nothing to be ashamed about or embarrassed about. That is just part of being a human being. But what is key here is to get to know your body, your needs, your pleasure, so you can talk about it and communicate with somebody verbally, nonverbal communication, sighing communication, moaning communication, whatever you want to talk about there, to be able to communicate what those needs are to the other person. So the other person's like, cued in, cool, got it, let's fucking go for it. And I think it's very important to note that just because you have different sexual drives, maybe somebody's like, I'd like to have sex 3 times a week. And somebody's like, well, I'm fine having sex weekly. To talk about what you guys want to do about that. How often do you guys want to have sex? How often don't you want to have sex? I have a client who was newly dating somebody, and he was telling me they had a whole conversation about how often they want to have sex. And it was great because they both are on the same page about it. And it kind of cleared the air, any anxieties or expectations or pressures to perform when you're fucking exhausted during the work week were all cleared. And so it actually allowed for them to have more connected and better sex. So compatibility is so important, but it's not something that's just given to you on a platter. You have to work through it with the other person that you're sleeping with. And side note, you also don't have to have sexual intercourse. You can do other things too. And those are part of your needs and talking about it. And my last point here, which I think is so important to remember, sex evolves. The purpose of having sex is to enjoy it, to explore, right? And if you're feeling a little like, this is a little stagnant, or I thought I liked this position with someone else, but I actually like this position with this person, so let's change it up from what I had shared before. Great, do it. Literally, do it. Because when you're able to evolve and grow and the other person is too, and you're allowing space for both of this to happen, that is chemistry. That is where things really get sparky in the bed. So at the end of the day, if you slept with somebody and you're like, oh man, I don't know, it wasn't that great, don't freak the fuck out. Instead, try tacoing about it, using your communication skills, recognizing things evolve over time, talking about your needs, your pleasure points, all that good stuff, and then see what's the vibe like the next time you guys go for it in the bed. Loved this episode? Rate it 5 stars, hit that subscribe button, baby, and leave a review. Do you want to work with me? Grab my dating courses, apply for my coaching at carlaromo.com or find it all in the show notes, and give me a little follow at I am Carla Romo on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Catch you next time and stay tuned. Carla Turned On is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not a substitute for therapy. For professional support, please reach out to a licensed mental health provider.